Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
Good morning. Good morning. I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Account for Life podcast. Today, how to know what business you should be in. How to know what business you should be in. Maybe you're not in business and you're like, well, I'm not in business, Jay. I'm an employee. Well, just relax. How to know what business you be in. We're gonna talk through life. That's why we're here, Account for Your Life. We're gonna talk through life, and we're gonna talk through kind of how a person can position themselves, right? How a person can position themselves, and I'm gonna also share with you some pitfalls. I'm gonna share with you some landmines that a lot of us fall into when we are thinking about possibly going into business or being in business, and then some of the mistakes that we make when it comes to knowing what we should be doing. So I'm inspired to talk about this because of where I am today. You know, it's not really coming on here as, oh, I'm a guru, a business guru. I have much to learn. There's a lot of people way more successful than me. So I don't come here as a you should do it my way kind of thing, but it's more so of me just coming on and just kind of sharing. So how you should know. This is one of the ways you can know right now. The fastest way is found in Proverbs 15:23. And it says, plans without counsel purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors, they are established. What is Solomon saying? What he is saying in Proverbs 15:22 is that the first thing, if you were going to start a business or if you are in business, the first thing you should do is get some counsel, get wisdom from someone else. Multiple. It says without counsel, purposes are disappointed. In the NIV, it says they fail. So disappointment and failure, right? When I say fail, ooh, that's a little hard. Disappointed. Then it says, but in the multitude of counselors, they are established. All right. So you went and you got counsel, right? Right? A lot. I've gotten counsel, and then you're sitting there like, is that it? I was at an event with Grant Cardone. Yep. The famous Grant Cardone, real estate mogul, sells hundreds of millions, billion-dollar businessman. Yep, I was sitting in his first what did he call that event? It was like his first event where he did it for like 150 people. I was there, right? His first, that was in 2018 or 19. At the event, there's only 150 people, so you know you're going to get a chance to talk to Grant. I talked to Grant. I talked to Jared, his CEO. Got to know them a little bit, and it was just like they're regular people, right? But they're going for it, right? But here's the thing: I had a chance to talk to Grant. I'm standing to Grant. I took a picture with him. I have the picture that I do use on social media sometime, and I said, Grant. I told him what I was doing. I said, what should I do? He gave me the answer. He gave me wisdom and counsel. He says, man, you got to go in on this. Now, here's the thing I was just sharing with my friend Shauna. I said, did you know Grant had an accounting degree? Grant went to school for accounting. Now, here's the thing. He says he just went to school for accounting, but he knew he was never going to use it. Now, for me, I didn't know that. But here's the thing. I was probably similar to Grant. When I got introduced to accounting, it was the business side that I loved the most. It wasn't the accounting. It wasn't just like, oh, debits and credits. It was the business side. All right. How to know what business going? So Grant gives me some wisdom about the business. I was a little conflicted. Guys, I'm be honest with you. When someone that's ahead of you gives you counsel, is going to be conflicting with you. Why is it going to be conflicting with you? It's going to be conflicting with you because one, you're too intimate with the knowledge, and one, you haven't quite made the decision to go in. See, Grant wasn't in my business, but Grant had gone in already. He was already making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And so from his perspective, he just says, do this. When you get counsel, they're going to tell you things that's going to feel weird. And so this is what many of us do. I did it. I don't know if I should do. Oh, I kind of feel like I should do this. Oh no. You just got the wisdom. So that means go with the wisdom until you get where they are. Yeah, this was hard for me. All right. So then moving forward, I got some more wisdom from another mentor. I'm in the Make More Offers Challenge with Myron Golden. Myron he's a genius. He's a biblical principles guy. He teaches big. Now this one, back up. Not quite Myron. I'm gonna go back. I'm at the residence, the house of my mentor Pedro Adeo. He's a kingdom entrepreneur. He's a challenge guy. I'm at his house in 2021. September to 2021. I'm at his house. There's only like 10 of us there. So I'm like kicking it. We're kicking it. We're having a good time. It's a workshop. Pedro gives me an idea. He says, Jay, this is the idea. Go with this right here. It was this idea of teaching accountants. That's what it was, right? Now he didn't go so far into like all the stuff, but he said, that's what he gave me a name. He says, yo, go into that. I left out of there and I was conflicted. I was like, oh, am I ready? Oh, this is another thing that'll happen. Am I ready for this? Am I the guy? Then you start questioning yourself. Took me some time, right? I start moving towards how to know what business you should be in. You're getting counsel, guys. See, what business you should be in, once you get counsel, guys, I'm telling you, like once I got counsel, they gave me the wisdom. They gave me the wisdom based on the wisdom that they already had. And it was like tried and true. If you do that, I'm telling you, you got to go in. But that's the point. You got to go in. You got to dive into the deep water, and it's going to feel like it's feel like you're not going to be able to swim in that water. All right. So Pedro did that. 2022, right after Pedro, here comes Myron Golden. I'm in his challenge. I was in the VIP, asked the question. Then Myron says something that was even more astonishing. He says, Jay, it's easier to make 25 million, than it is to do the accounting for 25 million. I was like, huh? And then he says, well, you should just teach accountants how to because that would probably be the best. That would probably be the fastest path. I'm like, huh? Like my head was like spinning. But how do you know what business you should be in? So I'm giving you 3 examples of 3 high-level mentors that came into my life. Now, Grant told me to go in on tax. I didn't tell you that. He said, go in on tax. I did go in on tax. Probably should have went harder. Should have went further in, but I did go in on tax. Not immediately, but I did. And both these other 2 came in and says, go with the accountants. And that's when I knew I had to make a shift. See, sometimes we get caught up. We get caught up in what we've been doing, not realizing that. See, when God comes, God will show up. God will show up in the mouth of someone else. I'm going to say it again. God will show up in the mouth of someone else. So if God shows up in the mouth of someone else, then we have to have the wisdom of God already in us. Yesterday, I was talking about these principles, and then I talked about the word and how when the word is in you and then you get the word, you should be able to discern it. So I discerned, right? How to know what business to be in is to get the wisdom, but discern yourself to know that, wow, I'm not smart enough on my own. Here's where it's coming. I'm not smart enough on my own. You cannot take a big idea. If you've got a big idea, you're not going to take a big idea and go by yourself. Many of us I've attempted that one. But here's the but. Here's what God steps in and says, I made a way. See, once you make a decision, and this is a framework that I actually created just from going through all these mistakes. Once you've made a decision, right? You make the decision. That's like the first step, the decision, and then you have to cut off everything else. That's what decision is, to cut off from anything else. Made a decision. And when I made a decision, things changed. How did they change? All of a sudden, the idea was too big for me. People started showing up. Hey, what's happening? Brittany's here. Brittany showed up into my life. I started teaching Brittany things, and now Brittany's going to wind up growing herself into something pretty big. Shauna shows up into my life. Then we kind of like merge ideas, and now we're creating a platform, because when the idea is big, there's no way you can do it by yourself. It's not possible. If the idea is small and you try and you do it, it wasn't God's. It wasn't God's idea. It's too small for God. God don't operate in small. God operates in us. God operates in something much. There it is. Much. She says, much smarter together. Yes, we're smarter together. Like, because when one comes together, they bring something. When two comes together, then that's 1 + 2 = 10. You're like, what? Not in math, it doesn't, but in the kingdom it does. 1 + 2 = 10. 3, what? Then 2 + 1 equals, well, in math it says 3, but it probably equals 100. What? All right. What to know what business you should be in. The business that you should be in is the business that you're already in. You're already in the business. Whatever you're doing already, there's a clue already that you can go into business. Now, I'm not saying you can go and create something totally different. Oh, I'm going to go into this thing. Okay, great. Right? Because if you go into something totally different than what you're already in, then, unless you already have experience or something to kind of create out of it, which you can do it. Jeff Bezos wasn't in the book business, but he got into the book business. Now, here's the thing. When you pivot, now what Bezos did have, Bezos had high level success in corporate America already. So he understood running business already. He didn't have to know how to run a book business. He just knew how to run business already. So when we look at our idea, the best path is the one that you're already in. Because the one that you're already in gives you information that you're already privy to, that you can then take into that same type of business. But here's where you have to change it. You have to innovate, right? Steve Jobs has it wasn't Steve Jobs' book. It's written by Carmine Gallo, Innovation Secrets. And in that book, Steve has some interesting ideas. I love them. And one of the ideas was kind of like how he innovated and how he created these products. That's totally like contrary to how many of us think when it comes to, well, you know what? I got to go ask. I got to go see what the customer wants. In which a lot of times you want to know that. But if you already know what the customer wants, long as you already know what the customer wants, you can give them what they want. You can give them what they want, even though they don't know they want it. All right. Here's my last example of that, which is Henry Ford. Henry Ford said this, and this is in the book. Henry Ford said, if he would have went to the customer and asked the customer, hey, customer, would you like a car? Or what would they want? They would say, can you give me a faster horse? Think about this. Henry Ford, the car dude, the one who started that thing, said that if he would have went to the customer, they would ask for a faster horse or a better horse. So the customer may not necessarily be the place to go when you're innovating, because you take what's already in the market and you innovate on it. So whatever business that you know about, innovate it. Right? So how to know what business you should be in is just take what you have already. This is a kingdom principle. You take what you have already and you use that because until just means that at some point it's going to break off and going to branch into other things. But you can't branch into other things before you go with what you already have. So knowing what business you should be in It's simply just looking at what you already have and innovating on it, like Steve Jobs said in his book, Innovation Secrets. So innovate and create something brand new so that people already want something. Give them what they want, but give it to them at a much higher level. So guys, that's it for today. I appreciate you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Life podcast. This is Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.